Check out this little beauty. This is a small antique Gaucho knife, formerly in my collection. It would be classified as a verigero. It's possible it could be classified as a puñal, but I don't think so. The rules of classification with this knife family, they're not always crystal clear. Long, very sleek blade, as you can see. It's easy to think of them as being made in the old days only in the major buckets and in the classic look or looks. The most quintessential of which we're seeing examples of here. So these knives were often about the bling, but they could also be very utilitarian in look and function. Clearly the one we're looking at today, with its very sharp blade and very plain sheath, was meant to be used. This little guy, well, it's not that little, probably about a 7-inch blade, got carried a lot. So much so that eventually the blade poked through the sheath, as you can see. I'm sure this knife got used to cut up meals more than opponents by far, if it ever got used as a fighting knife, but man, that point is deadly. That would be a lethal thrusting knife. Nice plain workmanship on the sheath. Definitely shows its age. You can see the belt clip. Once I flip it over, that is. I wonder how many years it took before the blade worked its way through the bottom there. And there's the clip. It's always nice when the sheath survives with the actual knife or sword. It doesn't seem to often happen. At least in comparison to antique blades that are in the opposite category, just by themselves. So, we talked about the decorative flourish that Gaucho knives received a lot. This one does, but of course it's on the handle. It does not look great. Now, I don't know if that groove that you see towards the bottom, if that's specifically meant for your pinky finger to rest in, but it seemed to fit pretty well. You'll notice at the top of the image and here in this profile, well, kind of profile, that there is a guard on the knife. It's a small one, but it is enough to keep your hand from slipping up the blade. Well, slipping up to the blade, I should say. It's funny in this picture, it almost looks like a short sword, but no, it's actually a small knife, as you'll see. I mean, not super small. Here you go, tip to tip with my hand for comparison. Here it is coming up in an ice pick grip. And Gauchos did not favor that grip, at least from my research, but they were expert knife fighters. It was basically their #1 pastime. I read about this somewhat extensively in my most recent book, Deadly Ingenuity. The finish on the blade is really neat, but someone more knowledgeable than me when it comes to knife making would have to say whether or not they think that is accidental or just a byproduct of the process. And now I no longer own this knife. I gave it away as a prize to one of the backers of said book. Notice how long of a false edge it has on the back there. Again, definitely meant for, in terms of fighting applications, delivering a deep, penetrating wound. And then it's got these mysterious markings that I definitely do not understand. If anybody can decipher it, let me know in the comments. I'll try to give you the best view I can. Both orientations. I've actually seen a fair bit of old Gaucho knives, and can't recall ever seeing one with markings like that. They're not discernible, not to me anyway. And there's two different sets. Did I mention that? There's this on one side, which is more, alpha characters, and then there's numbers on the other side. But back to the alpha ones, they're spaced weirdly. They make no discernible name or word in English or Spanish. But bottom line, what a gorgeous knife. Look at that. And an example from a fascinating and very notable knife fighting culture of the Western world that's like criminally underrepresented in most literature about swords, knives, all that kind of good stuff. Which is surprising because outsiders, Americans, Europeans who went to Argentina and other areas in Las Pampas very often took note about the knife fighting culture down there and wrote about it. I've got some cool primary sources along those lines in the book. But anyway, back to the knife in particular that spurred the video. Wanted to mostly focus on that. It's a beauty and it is no longer mine. Good thing I took some pictures and video of it before giving it away. Thanks for watching.